A 2025 DNA hit named a dead man as the suspect. That announcement reopened one of Austin's most haunting cold cases because the man identified by officials was already gone. Robert Eugene Brashers had died by suicide in 1999 during a standoff with police in Missouri. He could not be questioned. He could not stand trial. And yet, according to officials, DNA evidence identified him as the perpetrator in the murders of 4 teenage girls at an I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop in Austin, Texas, on December 6, 1991. Amy Ayers was 13. Eliza Thomas was 17. Jennifer Harbison was 17. Sarah Harbison was 15. Their names are the center of this case, not the forensic breakthrough, not the failed assumptions, and not the man named decades later. What happened to them began as a local horror and became a national example of how a cold case can survive years of uncertainty, legal error, and unanswered questions. After the murders, the shop was set on fire. When the first responders arrived, they found the victims inside. The fire changed the scene from the beginning, adding damage and confusion to an investigation that would be studied, challenged, and revisited for more than 3 decades. That distance in time is what makes the 2025 announcement so striking. The most significant official answer arrived long after the suspect's death. The question is not only who investigators ultimately identified. The question is how a case can move from unsolved to closed when the person named by the evidence can never answer for himself. What can still be established? What was alleged along the way? What was proven wrong? And what may never be fully known? To understand the weight of the DNA identification, you have to return to the place where the case began. The murders happened inside an I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop in Austin. It was an ordinary business, a place connected to work, routine, and the end of a Friday night. Jennifer Harbison and Eliza Thomas were employees. Sarah Harbison and Amy Ayers were there as part of that same small circle of ordinary life. The confirmed facts are stark and limited. 4 teenage girls were murdered there on December 6, 1991, and the shop was set on fire afterward. Everything beyond that has to be handled carefully. In a case this old and this painful, uncertainty can easily be mistaken for meaning. A detail that appears important after the fact may not have been connected at all. A rumor can harden into memory. A theory can begin to sound like evidence. But responsible storytelling has to separate what is confirmed from what was suspected, alleged, or never fully explained in the public record. From the beginning, investigators faced a scene that had been damaged by fire. A fire after a murder can destroy evidence, obscure a timeline, and complicate the work of reconstructing what happened. In this case, the fire became part of the mystery itself. It was a confirmed fact, but its full role in the crime remained difficult to explain publicly with certainty. Was it meant to conceal evidence? Was it part of the offender's plan? The available record does not fully answer those questions. What it does show is that the scene investigators entered was not only the site of 4 murders, but also a site that had been altered before police could fully read it. That combination helped make the case especially difficult. There were victims, a location, and evidence to preserve. But the most important moments inside the shop were gone. No surviving victim could describe what happened. No clear public account has resolved the exact sequence of events. And for years, the case lived in the space between known tragedy and missing proof. As the investigation continued, pressure grew. 4 teenagers had been killed. The city wanted answers. Families needed accountability. Investigators needed to build a case from damaged evidence, witness information, and whatever forensic material could be recovered. But a painful truth would later emerge. The early path of the case led away from the answer officials eventually announced. According to the provided research, the initial investigations led to the wrongful conviction of 4 men. 2 of those men were sentenced to death and life imprisonment, respectively. Those were not small errors. They were life-altering legal outcomes in a murder case that had already devastated 4 families. The convictions also shaped public understanding of the case for years, giving the appearance that the justice system had found the people responsible. But later developments showed that this certainty had been misplaced. It is important to be precise here. A wrongful conviction is not just an old mistake corrected by paperwork. It is years of lost freedom, years of legal fighting, and years in which the true direction of the investigation may remain obscured. In the Austin yogurt shop case, the wrongful convictions became part of the case's central history. They showed how badly an investigation can go wrong, especially when pressure, uncertainty, and limited evidence converge. They also created a second layer of harm. Beyond the original murders, 4 men were convicted for a crime they did not commit. The eventual DNA identification of Robert Eugene Brashers did not erase that history. It made it even more important. It showed that the case had carried 2 difficult realities at once. 4 teenagers had been killed, and 4 men had been wrongfully convicted. The legal system had pursued one answer, while the evidence, decades later, pointed somewhere else. Then came the breakthrough. In 2025, officials announced that DNA evidence identified Robert Eugene Brashers as the perpetrator in the 1991 yogurt shop murders. The announcement changed the shape of the case. For decades, the public had known the crime as one of Austin's most notorious unsolved murders. Now, officials were saying the evidence had led them to a specific man. But the breakthrough came with an immediate limit. Brashers was dead. He had died by suicide in 1999 during a police standoff in Missouri. By the time his name was attached to the Austin murders, he had been gone for 26 years. That fact changes the meaning of closure. In a traditional criminal case, investigators identify a suspect. Prosecutors decide whether to bring charges, and the evidence is tested in court. There may be a defense, testimony, cross-examination, a verdict, and a public record that lays out what the state believes happened. Here, that path was not available. Brashers could not be interviewed. He could not respond. He could not be prosecuted. No jury would hear a case against him. No trial would test a full narrative in open court. According to the confirmed record, the case is considered closed with the identification of Brashers as the perpetrator. But because he was deceased, the public is left with a different kind of resolution, an official identification supported by DNA evidence, without the courtroom process that might have answered additional questions. That does not mean the identification is insignificant. It is a major development in a case that resisted answers for decades, but it does mean the case must be described with care. The DNA evidence provided the official answer. It did not provide a confession. It did not explain motive. It did not reconstruct every moment inside the shop. It did not undo the years when the wrong men were treated as responsible. Brashers' name also carried a broader investigative shadow. According to allegations and reporting summarized in the research, he was linked to other violent crimes across multiple states, including Missouri, South Carolina, and Tennessee. That history may help explain why investigators looked at him seriously in the cold case context, but it should not be overstated beyond the record provided here. Being linked to other crimes is not the same as a full public account of what happened in Austin. It is one part of the background, not a substitute for the missing details of the night itself. The legal aftermath continued after the DNA announcement. In 2026, 4 men who had been wrongfully convicted were formally exonerated. That formal exoneration mattered because it gave legal recognition to what the later evidence had made clear. The convictions should not stand. The city of Austin also agreed to a $35 million settlement for the wrongfully convicted individuals. That settlement acknowledged the scale of the failure in concrete terms, but compensation cannot return the years that were taken. It cannot restore the lives interrupted by wrongful conviction. And it cannot bring back Amy, Eliza, Jennifer, and Sarah. The case now carries 2 kinds of official resolution. One is forensic and investigative. DNA evidence identified Robert Eugene Brashers, and officials consider the case closed. The other is legal and corrective. 4 wrongfully convicted men were formally exonerated and compensated. Together, those developments changed the history of the case, but they did not make the story simple. In fact, they revealed how complicated the pursuit of truth can become when the first answers are wrong and the final answer arrives too late for a trial. That is the haunting structure of the Austin yogurt shop murders. The case began with 4 teenagers in a local shop. It moved through years of uncertainty, public fear, and intense investigative pressure. It produced wrongful convictions that would later be undone. And decades later, it reached a DNA identification pointing to a man who had been dead since 1999. Each stage answered something, but none answered everything. The victims' names remain the most important facts in the case. Amy Ayers, Eliza Thomas, Jennifer Harbison, and Sarah Harbison. They were children and young women whose lives ended in a place that should have been ordinary and safe. Any discussion of evidence, suspects, convictions, or settlements has to return to them. Without that, the case becomes only a puzzle. And this was never only a puzzle. It was a loss first. The unanswered questions remain because the evidence can identify more than it can explain. It can point to a person. It can correct a false direction. It can help clear the wrongfully convicted. But it cannot always recover motive. It cannot always reveal whether anyone else had knowledge that was never shared. It cannot restore a complete timeline if the most important witnesses are gone, the scene was damaged, and the suspect is dead. The public record, as provided here, does not fully explain every step of how the evidence survived, how it was later analyzed, or why the answer emerged when it did. What it does show is a case that changed dramatically because science outlasted assumption. The DNA hit pointed to a dead man. For officials, that identification brought the case to a close. For the wrongfully convicted, the later exonerations marked a long-delayed correction. For the families of the victims, the meaning of that closure is something only they can define. And for the public, the case remains a warning about certainty, about how quickly investigators can pursue the wrong path, how long evidence can wait for the right technology, and how justice can arrive in pieces rather than all at once. so the story ends in a kind of split screen. On one side is the Austin yogurt shop in 1991, the fire after the murders, and the 4 victims whose names should never be reduced to a case title. On the other side is a 2025 DNA identification of Robert Eugene Brashers, a man already dead for more than a quarter century. Between them are decades of unanswered questions, wrongful convictions, formal exonerations, and a settlement acknowledging a profound failure. The case may now be considered closed, but its history remains unsettled in the way many cold cases are unsettled. The official answer arrived. The living defendant did not. And the most human questions remain the hardest ones. Why this place? Why these girls? And why did the truth take so long to surface? Follow Whispered Cases for a new case every week. Subscribe so you never miss one.